Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're going to look at how a single Tuesday morning completely and fundamentally reorganized modern global politics. When we think of September 11th, 2001, our minds immediately go to those shocking images of a bright, peaceful morning turning into ash and smoke. But beyond the profound, unimaginable human tragedy, this event was a massive paradigm shift. Literally, in a matter of hours, the entire international framework shifted on its axis. The geopolitical policies that govern our world today, they were basically forged in the fires of that exact day.
So, to really grasp the sheer magnitude of what happened, we need to look at this through the lens of an international relations historian. For centuries, right, the global order was defined by state-based conflict. It was countries fighting other countries with standing, formal armies. But 9/11, it completely shattered that era. It forced the world to confront a terrifying new question. How could a non-state group that didn't even have a traditional military successfully strike the absolute heart of the world's sole superpower? It was a violent, shocking introduction to the era of transnational terrorism.
Section 1. The transnational threat emerges.
To make sense of this monumental shift, we first have to rewind to the 1990s. That's when we saw the rapid growth of a highly dangerous terrorist organization called Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. Operating totally out of the shadows, they devised this terrifyingly simple plot that managed to completely bypass a trillion-dollar American defense apparatus. Unlike a traditional army that, launches missiles or rolls tanks across a border, Al-Qaeda secretly sent just a handful of men into America. The plan wasn't to fight the military head-on. No way. It was to blend into normal everyday life, take civilian flying lessons, study our own airport security, and ultimately use the nation's commercial passenger planes as weapons of mass destruction.
Section 2. A peaceful morning shattered.
On what started out as a completely routine Tuesday, thousands of everyday people were just arriving for work at the World Trade Center. They were pouring coffee, checking emails, making phone calls, totally unaware that the geopolitical landscape was about to violently fracture right above them. Just 19 terrorists, that's it. Armed with nothing more sophisticated than small pocket knives and box cutters, they stormed the cockpits of 4 commercial airplanes. Operating as a tight transnational cell, they essentially declared asymmetric war on the United States and changed the world forever.
Section 3. The coordinated assault. The sheer speed of this assault threw the massive U.S. aviation system into complete chaos. Imagine being an air traffic controller that morning, suddenly watching planes stop responding, drastically change course, or just turn off their transponders. At 8:46 a.m., when American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower, a lot of people, even seasoned news anchors broadcasting live, genuinely thought it was just a horrific freak accident. But exactly 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 slammed into the South Tower. The world's understanding shifted in a split second. This was no accident. By the time the Pentagon was struck at 9:37 a.m., it was undeniable. America was facing a full-scale, highly coordinated terrorist attack. But listen, amidst all this macro-historical analysis of geopolitics and warfare, we absolutely must pause to remember the unbearable human toll here. Inside those burning towers, conditions became literally unthinkable. Heat melting steel, thick smoke darkening the hallways. Trapped individuals on those upper floors, realizing they had absolutely no way out, made their final, heartbreaking phone calls. Simple, devastating messages like, "I love you," or "Tell the kids I love them." It's just a stark, sobering reminder that international relations isn't just about abstract states and policies. It's about the very real human lives caught right in the crossfire.
Section 4. Collapse and immediate aftermath. Down below the impact zones, panic spread instantly. And even as brave first responders, police officers, firefighters, medics showed just unimaginable courage, rushing straight up into the smoke to save strangers, the unthinkable happened. At 9:59 a.m., severely weakened by the intense burning jet fuel, the South Tower completely collapsed, pancaking down into a massive cloud of dust. The sound echoed across Manhattan like rolling thunder. Just 29 minutes later, the North Tower followed. Hundreds of heroic responders and civilians were buried in an instant. In just a matter of seconds, the iconic skyline of New York was permanently altered, and the streets literally resembled a war zone. And the sheer unprecedented scale of this tragedy was completely global. By the end of the attacks, nearly 3,000 people were dead. But look at this. They represented more than 90 different countries. This wasn't just an attack on America. It was an attack that touched almost every single corner of the globe. And honestly, that is exactly why the international response was so incredibly swift and unified in the immediate aftermath. Yet for all the absolute darkness of that day, it was also deeply defined by incredible human courage. The passengers of Flight 93, realizing their plane was being used as a guided missile, literally charged the cockpit. They forced the plane down in a Pennsylvania field, preventing a guaranteed attack on the U.S. Capitol or the White House. We saw the immense sacrifice of individuals like Fire Department Chaplain Father Michael Judge and Security Director Rick Rescorla, who managed to safely evacuate thousands of people before the towers fell. Ordinary, everyday people became absolute heroes in an instant. Section 5. The New Global Era.
As the dust and debris slowly began to clear at Ground Zero, it became obvious. The rules of the 20th century no longer applied. A new global era was dawning, and it was characterized by an entirely different kind of warfare. But before we look at the resulting policy shifts, it's vital to ask why this happened. I mean, how did America's incredibly powerful intelligence agencies miss this? Well, later investigations revealed there had actually been warning signs, lots of them. But critical communication failures, missed clues, and a severe lack of coordination between heavily siloed agencies allowed the plot to slip right through. That shocking realization led to sweeping, deep structural changes in how governments worldwide share and analyze intelligence.
The immediate, visible response was the declaration of what became known as the War on Terror. President George W. Bush promised to hunt down everyone responsible. And this was a completely new type of campaign, a highly complex global military, political, and intelligence effort all rolled into one. It kicked off almost immediately with the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, with the explicit goal of removing the Taliban government that was actively harboring Osama bin Laden and his network.
Honestly, this new era birthed the exact world we live in right now. It triggered long, complex, and highly destructive wars in the Middle East. It resulted in the strict, sweeping global airport security we all just accept as normal today. And it sparked a massive, deeply controversial increase in government surveillance and anti-terror operations worldwide. The actions of just 19 men fundamentally reshaped everyday travel, our global privacy expectations, and international relations for decades to come.
So, to wrap up this explainer, we're really left to consider the intense, dual legacy of September 11th. Those few hours of unmatched hatred violently birthed the complex surveillance and security frameworks of our modern geopolitical world. But simultaneously, they showcased an enduring, completely unbreakable human resilience that still echoes today. It really leaves us with a profound question as we look around the world today. How much of our modern society, our laws, and our global borders are still simply a reaction to that single, shattered Tuesday morning? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep asking questions, and as always, keep learning.